Thank you, Tom, and thanks to all of you for coming out today. I really think that this demonstration, if people are paying attention, tells you everything you really need to know about what's going on. We've got the regulators, Lisa Jackson, the head of the Environmental Protection Agency. We've got the legislators, in this case a Republican, Lindsey Graham, a Republican I think in name only from South Carolina. And we've got the big corporate interest, the big corporate, big money special interest that we always get accused of being for, but somehow always ends up on the other side. And they're all in there conspiring right now to give themselves more power and more money and more control over our lives and to make us pay for their schemes. The cap and trade bill that passed the U.S. House, the Waxman-Markey bill, will raise the price of electricity about 60 or 70%. Now, why would the electric utilities be in favor of something that is going to raise the prices that they have to charge? Well, they're in favor of it because a lot of that money that they charge in these higher prices under this regime will go right to their bottom line as profits, because they have crafted a formula in that bill that gives them free emissions permits that are worth billions of dollars. So this is exactly what happened in Europe when they did this. They will pass the cost along to you, get it in the rate base by saying, well, if you don't let us put it in the rate base, we can sell these permits on the market. They're very expensive. You have to let us compensate us for holding them on our books, even though they didn't pay for them because their lobbyists got them put in the bill. One of the men who's in there today, John Rowe from Exelon Energy, put out a guidance to their investors that said for every $10 in the price per ton of carbon dioxide under cap and trade, we'll make $750 million per year in additional revenue. You've got Jim Rogers from Duke Energy who's been lobbying for this for years because they believe that they will get paid to decommission their older coal plants because they can sell all those permits, make a windfall profit on it. This bill is one of the most corrupt pieces of legislation that's ever been put together, and is not just these special interest corporate provisions. There were also thousands of pages that were put in there to buy votes, special interest provisions. This is one of the most unbelievable expansions of government power in the history of our country. And the way that they got it through is they said, you have to vote for this. Everyone in business, line up, get in line, get on board, or we will destroy you with the threat of EPA regulation. And this is the most amazing part. In the Senate version of the bill, it specifically says in the Kerry Boxer version of cap and trade, nothing in this bill will in any way preempt EPA's ability to regulate under the Clean Air Act. So at the end of the day, they want to get us with both. They want to get us with both. And how bad is this threat of EPA regulation? I'll tell you, last month I was in Copenhagen, Denmark. Any of you guys follow what went on in Copenhagen? Big international climate conference. It was a disaster for them, so it was pretty good for us. They couldn't agree on anything. But what really scared me is Lisa Jackson, the guest of honor inside today, the person we're protesting. She gave a presentation at the United States Pavilion, presenting as part of the official U.S. delegation to the United Nations, the rest of the world. I was sitting in the room. She came out and she said, we would love to pass cap and trade to get more political buy-in for what we're trying to do, but we don't need it. We can do everything we need to do to meet all our international obligations just through EPA action, and I'm going to do it whether Congress acts or not. Erupts in applause. That is what they are promising the rest of the world. And there was a paper handed out in Copenhagen by a group called the Center on Biological Diversity. It was a paper on how the president can agree to an international agreement and completely implement it without ever having a vote of Congress, by using EPA regulation and shoehorning greenhouse gases into the 1970 Clean Air Act, which, as Tom pointed out, is a bill that was written before anyone had ever heard of global warming, when these guys thought an ice age was coming. And the man who wrote that bill, John Dingell, who, by the way, is still a member of Congress, a Democrat from Michigan, said using the Clean Air Act for this purpose would create a glorious mess that it was never intended by Congress. But we had a Supreme Court decision in 2007, Massachusetts versus EPA, a disastrous 5-4 decision. They said, if EPA wants to do this, they can go ahead and do it. And EPA career bureaucrats wrote 18,000 pages of appendices. They want to regulate everything that moves, planes, trains, buses, automobiles, farm equipment, your tractor, your lawnmower, a lot of things that don't move, any commercial building with 100,000 square feet of space. any commercial kitchen that uses natural gas as a cooking fuel. They want to regulate it all. And we're talking about complete redesigns and operational changes because there is no control technology for carbon dioxide. We are talking about EPA engineers sitting down and second-guessing every other engineer who ever designed anything in the economy, redesigning everything, mandating how we use equipment. They've got proposals in there, which Tom mentioned for cattle. Anyone with 25 head of cattle or more would be regulated, federal permitting from the Environmental Protection Agency. This reaches every aspect of our lives, and it's not just energy, it's everything. Everything grown, shipped, or manufactured, everything that's anywhere in the economy is reached by this. It's an unbelievable power grab. We've got to stop the EPA. They don't listen to us directly, so there's only one way to do it, and that is we must demand that Congress step in and stop them. They are the elected branch of government that is supposed to make the laws. You don't defer to the Environmental Protection Agency. Congress needs to step in.
Yeah.
We expect to have an opportunity. We expect to have an opportunity later this month in the United States Senate. Senator Murkowski from Alaska is putting in an amendment that will stop this EPA regulatory power grab, that will stop Lisa Jackson and what she's trying to do. Every United States senator who does not vote for that amendment is responsible for what happens. We're going to push for the same thing in the U.S. House of Representatives. I believe that we will get a vote on an amendment. Joe Barton, the ranking member on the Energy and Commerce Committee from Texas, is going to sponsor that. Anyone who votes against that amendment is responsible for what happens. We know what EPA wants to do. There must be political accountability for it. We don't get to vote for Lisa Jackson, but we do get to vote for Congress. And if they don't stop her, I blame them. We'll all blame them. We'll hold them responsible at the polls. And you know what? Lisa Jackson also has an official boss, the man who appointed her. His name is Barack Obama. He's also responsible to the voters. And I'll mention one other boss that she has because I think this is an important point. The person calling the shots on all of this, running the show, trying to get cap and trade on the Hill, running the EPA regulatory show, is actually Carol Browner, the White House climate czar. And she is in an unappointed, unconfirmed position. She has not been subject to confirmation by the Senate. It is an unconstitutional office. She has de facto budget authority. She is directing agencies. She brokered the deal for these new automobile emission standards. And the New York Times reported that when she did it, she said, put nothing in writing ever. So they are disregarding all of the rules of the way policies are supposed to be made in this country. Carol Browner was the person back in 1997 when she was the EPA director under Bill Clinton who developed the theory of using the Clean Air Act in this way. It was a brand new legal theory that she invented. It seemed crazy at the time. 10 years later, the court said they could go ahead and do it. Why didn't they put her back at the EPA? Because they couldn't. Because after she left the Clinton administration, Carol Browner got on the board of directors of something called the Socialist International Commission on World Society. And she signed her name to statement after statement after statement on how the only way to make the world sustainable and solve global warming is to have global governance. And they knew that as a member of the Socialist International Commission on World Society, she could not be confirmed by the United States Senate. So instead of putting her back in that job, they made her the White House climate czar. They didn't have any hearings. They didn't have any confirmation. And now she's calling the shots from the White House, the puppet master behind this whole effort. So we need to demand accountability. We need to demand a return to the government's constitutional limits. We need to demand that Congress be the branch that makes laws in this country and that we have accountability. And if they try to avoid accountability, we've got the ballot box. Thanks, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.